Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the tritone. Now if you don't know what a tritone is, it's two notes that are three tones apart. So simple concept, but when you dive into this, you'll see there's a variety of uses for this. I chose to write a funky blues number sort of to go over these tritones, and I use them quite a bit in here. But it can be used in a variety of styles, so we can use it in blues, funk, soul, R&B, jazz. We can also use the tritone in metal. So let's just dive right in, take a listen to the piece that I've written for you this week, and then I'll explain what the tritone is all about. Alright, so now that you've heard the piece we're going to be using to discuss these tritones, let's first talk about what a tritone is. So as I alluded to before, a tritone is two notes, or they are two notes, that are three tones apart. So on the guitar, a tone is 2 frets. Okay, so if we do the math there, 3 times 2, we get 6 frets apart. So if we had, let's say, the open 6th string, and we go up to fret number 6, that is a tritone itself, okay? So that's E to an A sharp or a B flat, depending on how you want to look at it. Okay, so in music theory, we can refer to that as a sharp 4th or a flat 5th. So an augmented 4th or a diminished 5th. Whatever way you want to look at it, depending on the key you're in, or depending on what scale notes you're using. They're both the correct answer for that sound. If we don't have any context, we can call it either a sharp 4th or a flat 5th, okay? But the tritone is the same kind of sound. So whether you're using it as an augmented 4th or a diminished 5th, it's the same two notes. And now if I take those same notes and we put it into context on, let's say, 2 strings adjacent to each other. So we had, E to an A sharp, right? Well, let's take it down 1 string. We have A to fret number 6, which is a D sharp. So if I use the fretted note on string 6, we have the 5th fret, string 6, to the 6th fret on string number 5, or on the A string. A and D sharp. Quite ugly, right? Not a nice sound. But this is the tritone, okay? So these two notes together. So if we follow down the next set of strings, on string 5 and 4, the tritone is 5 and 6, fret 5 and 6, okay? So on the A and D strings, still the same thing there, 1 fret apart. On the D and G strings, still 1 fret apart. But when we go to the G and the B strings, it becomes 2 frets apart for just that set of strings. Now the reason why that is there is because the B string is tuned differently. Instead of it being tuned to a 4th interval, we're tuning to a 3rd, which means the same kind of relationship now has to add 1 fret. Okay, so on the B string we always add 1 fret to get the same kind of relationship. Now going down to string number 2 and 1, we're back to our 1 fret. So it's really ugly and really awkward sound, right? But that's the tritone there, and by itself it sounds ugly. At the start of Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix, you'll hear the tritone being used. The bass player is playing the E, pulsing the E, and Jimmy's playing B flat in 2 different octaves, which we get this kind of sound, okay? So that's where you might recognize it, but it's also used in a ton of different chords, and specifically the chords you most often might hear are dominant 7 chords, or we'll call it like an A7 chord. So it's a 7th chord with a major 3rd and a flat 7th. So root, major 3rd, 5th, or perfect 5th, and a flat 7. So between the 3rd and the flat 7, we get that tritone sound. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about there, don't worry. We're not going to get into a big theory lesson here. But let's just show you an A7 chord. String number 6 all the way to string number 1 on the 5th fret. The 6th fret is string number 3, and the 7th fret, string number 5. Now, when we do that, we get the tritone between the 4th string and 3rd string. So we're going to play a G note to a C sharp, a flat 7 to a major 3rd. And so that's where we often hear it in more contemporary blues, jazz, funk, all that kind of stuff, right? That's why that dominant 7 chord is so unique, because it does have that tritone. Other chords that have the tritone would be like a diminished chord. So this kind of sound. Although it's not going to be used as much in popular music, we hear it in the diminished 7, we hear it in the minor 7 flat 5. It's like, so there we go, we have the tritone there. Our focus today is on more of the funky bluesy relationship here, so we're going to focus on that dominant 7 chord. So the piece I wrote is based on an A7, okay, so like that. And we'll use that to sort of play around with it. I'm going to do some slides, sound pretty cool. And just want to get you get you to have that sound of the tritone in your head, so you can hear that. And hopefully after you're done with this, when you hear a tritone, you can recognize it. That's the big goal here. So let's take a look at the piece we're going to learn today. So we're going to play the open A string. And then we're going to slide from the 4th fret on the D string and the 5th fret on the G string. That's F sharp to a C. We're going to slide up to a G and a C sharp. So we're sliding into the notes, the tritone from the A7 chord. So the open A, sliding in to the tritone there. And then we're going to play the 7th fret on string number 4 and 3. So some double stops. Alright, so this note here, A and D. And you can look at it in a few ways. Over the A chord, I'm thinking about that as being a suspension, raising the 4th, right? So getting rid of the 3rd, adding the 4th in there, the root and 4th. And the next part here, I'm going to go back to the 4th and 5th fret, which is the F sharp and the G, or sorry, F sharp and the C, and we're going to slide up to the G and the C sharp. And we're going to do it with one pick stroke, slide up, and then back down, and then back up. That's sort of the cool part here. And then we're going to play the 7th fret on string number 4 on the D string, which is the root note, A, to G, which is the 5th fret on the D string as well. Okay, then we repeat the same first part of the phrase. And we're going to go up here. We're going to take the octave of the F sharp and the C. So we're going to play the 7th fret string number 2, or the B string, and 8th fret on the 1st string, which is the E string. It's the same thing, slide up. So up, down, up. And then what I do again, so I do one more time, but instead of trying to rely on the notes to ring out, you could do that, but I pick one more time. Just to give it a stronger push, like there's a strong beat right there. Right, so simple thing about picking it again, you could do it, but it loses its strength, it loses its punch, right? So to me, I like to pick it again. Again. All right, then we repeat the same first part again. And then I'm going to go to F and B, okay? So up to that point, everything I did chord-wise was all based on the A chord. I just this basically did an A chord all the way through. And then the next part, as we're getting to the F and the G, I just did a G, D, A. And I just use regular triads because I want to embellish the chord with these notes we're playing on top. Okay, so I did F sharp and B, which is basically makes it a G7 chord. And then I slid up one fret, did F sharp and C. And what that does is it basically takes that D chord and turns it into a D7. Okay, so I'm thinking of that as a D7, a root, 3rd, 5th, and flat 7. That's the cool thing about these chords too. When we use the 3rd and 4th string, we can have this relationship where we have the root note on string number 6, and and also string number 5. And this is called a tritone substitution. Oftentimes people will try to exchange those chords. Let's see if it sounds better, and they'll use them almost as, you know, a walking line. So, right? So we're just using the same, I guess, 3rd and 7th on top. They switch roles, but we can change the bass tone. Okay, so when I'm doing this here, this is for a G7, this is for a D7, and then I go up one more fret for an A7, the G and the C sharp. But I'm just doing those 2 notes. Alright? And then I just finish it off with an A7 chord. So I just did this inversion. 2nd fret string 4, 3, and 2, and 3rd fret string 1. We still have the tritone. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Alright, pretty straightforward. So from the beginning again. All right, now the second time around, it's exactly the same thing. So we're going to repeat the whole thing, but at the very end, instead of playing, I'm going to go to 14. So basically, this is a common thing where we add 12 frets. It's a really simple way to get the same chord, higher octave. All right, so it's like. And then I dive into the solo. So the solo is just an improvised solo using the A minor pentatonic or A mixolydian. That works, the mixolydian scale, or A minor pentatonic. Anything bluesy is going to work over this, okay? So mostly it's just the A chord. When I'm soloing, I'm just thinking of the A chord, A7. And you could go in and try to highlight those chord tones in terms of soloing on top of that. I don't bother in the recorded example. So in the links to this, you'll see the full solo I played. And I'm just thinking of, like I said, a bluesy A7. I didn't want to go too deep into highlighting all those chord tones as we switch the chords. But really big thing here I want you to get is the tritone sound. All right, so work on that. Have some fun with it. Students here, you get access to the backing track as well as the PDF. But if you enjoy this, please hit the like button. Helps me out. Subscribe for more videos each week. I'll be coming back at you next week with another video just like this. And if you have questions, let me know in the comments below. Look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.